I'm gonna call you Feline.
Not a fight this time.
Oh, I'm muted. There we go. Hello! We shouldn't be muted this time. Hopefully I didn't mess it up. I hope you like our lovely new layout. Oh, hi, Puck. I enjoy that you were happy to move as he was under the desk.
Oh, I was like, where'd he come from? That's cute. I got mine over here.
There he is. There he is. He's comfortable now. He's here. He's there. He's everywhere. He's Puckdosh.
So cute.
Alright, so we're back to our first revamped time of the month. I hope you like what I've done to the place. I set us up with some booze in the middle.
Yay.
I thought it was appropriate. We got a nice little layout. The only thing that I'm finding that I'm not seeing yet is I'm not seeing the side chat pop up. The side chat should be popped up, but I'm not seeing it. There's a spot for it, but it's not there.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know. So I might fiddle with that while we're chatting to see if I can get that going. But we have a special guest. We've got Manya who's AFK right now. We've got Intrigued Feline for like I think Steve stole my thunder because they were supposed to be on my stream first, and then I think Steve pulled them on because he's a rude butt. Steve's a butthead. I might be getting a little bit of lag. Let me just double check something. Let me just make sure I don't have a bunch of Google. Of course Google opened a bunch of tabs while I wasn't looking. Let me just take care of that real quick. And today we're planning on talking about Trump's what happened to him? He got pulled out. Yeah. And then he got acquitted. And so we're gonna chat about that a little bit, but we've got it from, the reason I called it Four Corners is because all of us are from different countries. Only one of us is cute. American.
That was cute, I like that.
So,
I know, that's so funny.
We gotta let the chat guess which one of us is American.
It's way too easy.
I don't know, people get me mixed up.
Yeah, because I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't have known had you not told me.
Steve's fault.
We are from at least 3 different continents.
Yeah, the continents are different too.
Yeah.
Except me.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we're from all over the place. I'm Canadian. Manya's from New Zealand. Your Karma's
New Zealand what?
New
Zealand exists?
New Zealand's a place, really? Supposedly? Allegedly.
Hi guys.
Karma is the American, and Feline is from somewhere on the European continent, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, Europe.
Yeah, so we're getting a whole slew of different perspectives here today, and I'm kind of excited about that because sometimes America has this very strange sort of mentality around it, I find, where it's very much there's either America or not America, and they just don't care about not America. But at the same time, they're like, oh, the world is watching us, and oh, everybody's looking to see what we're doing, and it's like, I don't think we're watching for the reason you think we're watching.
Right, that's right. Yeah, it's a little embarrassing.
Yeah, so I thought it would be a little bit fun to sort of maybe chat about that a little bit and sort of where these perspectives sort of come from and sort of what we were thinking when we were watching. But I think it's only fair that we do actually start with the American. So what do you think, Karma?
Oh God, that's a broad question. I have a lot of thoughts.
How do you feel about it?
I know how do I feel? Oh my God. Okay, so no, I did. It's good because I wanted to ask you guys a couple questions because it is funny that everyone's from, a different country.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys? What do we look like, or at least what happened with the acquittal? I mean, I could ask, what do you think about us electing in my opinion, an absolute monster who would be a dictator in a heartbeat, if he could. What do you guys? I mean, what do we look like to the rest of the world?
I think that's a really good question. I think that's a really good question. I think it really depends on who you're asking.
If I may.
Yeah, no, please.
I think so. What it puts out a precedent for future presidents that they can get away with certain kind of behavior, and that's very dangerous, according to me. What Trump did and what he incited and what almost happened, and I think so. The Republicans are just looking for that room or loophole to keep it that way, so they can push it even further in future if either the elections don't go in their way or something in the House of Representatives or even in their Congress doesn't go their way. So they're actually thinking about themselves, and like they have been very tactful about it. They went ahead with the impeachment stuff, but when it really came to making the move, they backed off because they know what precedent that will set, actually, also, that you can impeach someone for inciting something so dangerous, and they're just looking out for themselves. If one of those candidates had a chance at presidency in the coming years, then they can get away with certain kind of behaviors, certain kind of narrative, if they want to put it out for their advantage. So that's what my point of view is. However, I saw it coming from far off. I knew he wouldn't get impeached. I saw it coming. I was like, Democrats might be, like hell-bent on it. But if they don't have the Republican votes, because I think so, you need more than two-thirds of the majority, right, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, you don't. If you know you don't have the two-thirds majority, why are you going for it? Why? Okay, maybe you want to demonstrate to the world and to the people on the ground that some Republicans are willing to condone or leave room for such behavior. But if that's what they wanted to demonstrate, everybody knew that. Everybody knew that. As soon as that whole riot thing ended, the Republicans had started making excuses, and all Democrats needed was to highlight that. So yeah, I don't know what really they wanted to achieve through all this whole exercise. I thought it was fruitful. It wasn't fruitful at all. That's my whole monologue, and I'll now check out. Bye. No, okay, I'm still here. I'm listening in. I'll let everybody else speak now. Okay.
It's just the perfect showcase of tribalism.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I think there was something to be said about the Republicans. I think there are Republicans that are kind of waking up to sort of what's been going on. I think there are Republicans who didn't necessarily realize what what was going on so much, and now maybe they're a little bit more aware, or they've realized how absolutely screwed that they are themselves. Like that the people that they're voting for are lying to them. The people that they're voting for are pushing nonsense that things that they aren't voting for. And so I think because that's happening a little bit more, I think that Mitch McConnell put his foot so far down his own throat that it's looped around a couple of times, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, the guy's a flip-flopper, and he's ugh. But I think I remember that he was in talks with the Dems to, if we were to wait to start the trial, the second impeachment process at least, till the first week in February, I think I remembered that he was willing to vote, against Trump, and he didn't do that. Not that it was a huge surprise, but you know, the 2/3 is so that you know, whoever's in, I mean, to have, you know, I think there are 50, it's 50 and 51, right? With the Republicans have the House. So I don't understand how, I don't know how it makes sense to vote just with your party and not because something's right or wrong. You know, it's sad the way they've just voted. A lot of the independents, I do have respect for, the 6, I think it was, or 7 that voted against their party and did what was right. So I do applaud those people. But I just feel like the Republican Party is no longer a Republican Party. They're you know, Trumpers, I mean, he's changed so much when it comes to the Republican Party and indoctrinated these people who raced to the Capitol. You know, it's if you think about an analogy of like the mobsters who would say, "Go take care of that person." It's not they're not saying go kill the person, but you know what they mean by go take care of this person. When he had that, when he was up on the stage and he's saying, "March to the Capitol, I'm right behind you." You know, it was implied. Go take it. They've stolen it from us. And he shares a lot of the characteristics that somebody who indoctrinates people or a cult leader, he shares those same characteristics with someone like that. And that's virtually what he did over a 4-year period. And it's scary. It's really fucking scary because he's changed things. You know, post-Trump is forever changed, regardless of what president is, you know, going to be in office. They get away with murder, maybe actual murder. You know, I mean, kind of scary.
Yeah, there's kind of well, it's setting a precedent, right? It's kind of setting up in a way that if you're going to be allowed here, then what's to stop the next person from doing the exact same thing? If you're going to allow, like, if this isn't impeachable, what is? You have to basically reassess your entire Constitution because the Constitution is just not valid anymore. You've taken whatever power it had and thrown it out the goddamn window. And these are the Republicans doing this, you know, the ones that say, the Constitution this, the Constitution that. I had a guy a couple of years ago that I talked to. He's an American. He was very much pro-gun, he was a Republican, he was pro all that. He was like staple.
Across the board.
And he said the most bizarre thing to me when he said that no, nothing in the Constitution ever needs to be changed. And he was talking about the Second Amendment. It was a perfect document. And I'm like, do you know what an amendment is?
No.
It was very strange.
No. It's embarrassing and unfortunate.
May I point out that he was impeached? The offense is still impeachable, but is not acquitted. Is in the Senate. It's not able to face judgment to it in the Senate.
Do you think, Feline, do you think it's fair to say if the only goal, knowing that we would lose on the Democrat side at least, do you think that it's okay to still, you know, try and impeach the guy for the second time and if the only goal is to stop him from running again, you know, the security, the 1 million per year travel expenses, that sort of thing. Is that enough to, in your opinion, to go ahead and try and impeach the guy for the second time? Or do you think it was I don't know, is the case strong enough basically on its own? Or are we just trying to prevent him from running again?
In this instance, yes, but I would be wary about having impeachments just against a persona and not just for the actions. In this case, it's just about the action themselves, and those are serious and grave enough that, in my opinion, yes, it should also just be convicted to achieve those not able to be running for office again, to remove security clearances, to remove travel expenses, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think you don't necessarily want to. Don't treat the American people like they're stupid, because most American people are not stupid. So trying to impeach somebody that just because of who they are is not, that's not a good way to go. I 100% agree with you on that. I don't think, I just like how I didn't think it was a good idea for Biden to run on "I'm not Trump." That's such a bad platform. Like, why would you choose to do that? So there's so many good things you can do, and I mean, of course, we're already seeing Biden starting to like recant or like kind of pull back a little bit of the nonsense, or a little bit of some of his campaign promises. So he's like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to make sure everybody gets these checks, and oh, I'm going to make sure this, that, and the other thing, and he's already starting to be like, okay, but maybe, because the thing is the exact same thing that people that supported Bernie were worried about. They were right. Oh, look at how shocked I am that he's just a Republican in a blue suit. So it's like he's not really a Democrat, and America's scale is so tilted to the right that even your left is still to the right. So you don't have different parties anymore. But particularly with the impeachment, specifically the defense and the prosecution, what a world of difference between what they were able to actually bring to the table.
Yep.
Like, wow. Just between the video and the actual argumentation, and I'm pretty sure there's even one of them came up and said, hey, listen, we don't care if he runs again. That's not who cares? He can run again if he wants to. That's not what this impeachment is about. The impeachment is about the crime.
Right. It's about, it should
Maybe
be,
don't do crime.
Right. Should be about the crime too. Yeah.
The prosecution tried to, or the defense tried to make it about, oh, well, they're just scared. And I'm like, there's probably some Democrats that are like, yeah, make it so he can't run again, because fuck that guy in particular. But I think that's a tertiary thing. I think fuck Trump is a tertiary thing to, can we fix our government?
Yes,
I mean,
I think there may be a constitutional crisis looming in the next couple of decades if this continues on. And that's going to be a big problem for America. They need to revise, they need to look. There is a certain point, they need to do a postmortem on the past 4 years of the Trump presidency. What has happened, what kind of we know there has been a lot of corruption to French politics. Like, I know you, I'm friends with you, I'm giving you that position, etc. That all needs to be kind of investigated and looked at to try and fix what went wrong, essentially.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the thing is that the Constitution has been pulled in so many directions. It's almost at the point where it's become useless on its own. It's outdated. It needs to be reworked and revamped. Does that mean it's bad? No, it was very good for what it was, but to put people who lived X years ago on a pedestal as if they knew about the technology and the problems that we're going to be faced with today, that's absurd. Like, absolutely absurd. Why do you think that would be a good idea? They were living in a time period when like the police did not even exist in the capacity that they currently do. So it doesn't even apply to anything when it comes to that in any way. It just doesn't work, let alone social media. let alone giant tech companies, and let alone the national stage and how much the national influence of other countries and the influence that you want to have on other countries when it comes to trading and economics. There's nothing in the Constitution for that. Zero, zip, zilch, nada. It is not, there's nothing written about that because they can't see in the future. They weren't prophetic. They never claimed to be prophetic. If you want to claim that they were, I mean, okay, but it still doesn't answer the problems, right?
Have you guys looked at the new ethics bill that the Dems are trying to get passed? I don't know all the details.
Seen that one.
Well, there's a couple loopholes apparently. So things are changing. I guess on a positive, that there's so much negative. Anybody who runs post Trump, I mean, forever in so many ways, he's really fucked a lot up, right?
Same problems as Reagan. Yeah, you're still dealing with problems from Reagan now.
Yeah, and in terms of, you know, things changing to come along with the times, and also post Trump, the Dems are trying to put forth the new ethics bill. So basically, and I don't know all the details, they're closing some loopholes. Let's see. They're trying to enhance restrictions so a president can't profit from their own businesses, which we know he did. Something about requirement of the taxes, like that's an absolute must. You have to submit your tax return. Can't profit from business. So different regulations they're trying already to put into effect so that this doesn't happen, you know, next time or in the future. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, but the problems are also a lot deeper than most people initially think, because America is only like 250 years old now, but there are events happening in the past that still has ramifications today. For example, currently recently we have the problems with taxes with the cold weather there. They have their own power grid, and that's excluded from the rest of the nation. That's because they have still a sort of, how do you call it? Inkling of want to be its own nation, as it were. They want to be independent, but they can't because of the constitution. But that still has ramification. They still see themselves as unique, and that all stems from the American Civil War.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of history that one of the things that I think America runs into a problem is that your democracy isn't really set up to be the democracy that you want it to be. It's been jerry-rigged so bad with like duct tape and toothpicks and hot glue guns and shit to turn it into the democracy that it seems that the people want. But it wasn't set up to be that way. It was set up to be the United States,
right?
And the federal government was to oversee the states, and so the states were supposed to have that more democratic thing going, like a more I want to say proper, but then not quite the right word, democratic process, and then that process was supposed to work on its own, which is why you have so many of those arguments like, well, the state should have the right for this and the state should have the right for that, because I think a lot of people outside of America, I don't know how many people inside of America, don't actually understand why you've got like the dance between your federal and state government, and why people are so upset that my state is being asked to do this, or and it's like, it doesn't work like that anywhere else, and it's because you're the United States. You're not a country. Right. You're a group of states that decided to work together, and the change to the national stage changes that dynamic, because now you have a federal government that has power it was never supposed to have, because it's now dictating to the states what they can and cannot do by utilizing its power nationally, because the United States of America wanted to present themselves united, shocker, to outside influence. And so you've got states that want this thing over here and states that want this thing over here, but they need to be, because the economics and the national being able to trade, people aren't, like, other countries aren't agreeing or disagreeing to trade with a state, which is probably the way it should have worked, even though that still wouldn't really work very well. But the way, like, it, because of, again, technology and travel and the world getting smaller and bigger at the same time, it made it so that it doesn't really work to just trade with North Dakota in particular. So all of the rules and all of the bargains and deals and trade economics that goes on has to go through the federal government. But your government isn't set up for that. So it's like this weird push and pull of like, well, Trump is putting in sanctions or Trump is putting in tariffs on this thing and it's screwing over this particular state because that state's like, but I didn't want this. Why are you doing this? And so it ends up making America look like it has no, like, the left arm is not talking the right arm, and it's just because your government is not conducive to working together in the way it was designed to work. So either you need to revamp it entirely or take the whole thing, throw it out, and start again. Which, split it in half. Split America in half. Do it. I believe.
I mean, hey, I almost thought that was going to happen. You know, I mean, a civil war wasn't so out of the question. But speaking of democracy being lost, someone told me, and I heard this analogy of like a head-on car collision. So you just swerve at the last second and you miss this head-on collision with like a semi truck. I mean, Trump had Trump implemented martial law. Then immediately, then he could have stopped the inauguration of Biden, and it could have been a forced thing where this was challenged and had gone on forever, which we've never seen before. It's like, wait a minute, we took a vote. What the hell? You mean it's being challenged? I mean, had he gone that far and implemented, martial law, especially during the inauguration or prior to, he would have been exactly like any of the dictators,
absolutely,
and present.
Oh, he wanted to be. Well, kind of. I want to say kind of.
Yeah, had he had the power, you bet your ass. I mean, that's what I think.
I think he could have gotten away with it if it weren't for those meddling Bernie supporters. No, that's not what I think. I'm just kidding. I think that he didn't have the drive. I don't think he actually wanted to be president. I think he got stuck between a rock and a hard place, and then he got to be president, but then he also, well, now I've got all this power, now I've got all this control, I want to have more power and more control, and I want to keep it. But it was too late, so had he planned ahead, I think he would have gotten away. I think if he had the drive, I think he would have been able to do it. I just don't think he did. And
I mean, it's a testament to why we have history lessons in classes. I mean, about like, Hitler. Let's not forget, people go, that would never happen again. Yeah, it could.
Why wouldn't it? Why not? History repeats itself all the time.
So long ago, that would never happen today. Well, sure it could. I mean, look at who we put into office. Not me, but as a country we did. And it's like, this is a cult leader. I mean, he was able to brainwash so many with the QAnon stuff. People are going to be studying this forever. I mean, there's an
entire Reddit about QAnon, and I can't remember. It's like QAnon. What is it? It's called like QAnon something, and it's like it's post from Q users post inauguration. And they're like, some of them are just like, this wasn't all a mistake, was it? It's like, oh.
Yeah, how about the people that stormed the Capitol? They're like, I won't get arrested. They're like, Trump will save us.
Trump will save us.
I don't fucking think so.
There's a couple of stories from people who are family members of those people who are like, my brother is getting arrested tomorrow. He knows he's getting arrested tomorrow. And I asked him if he thinks it's a big deal, and he's like, nah, it'll be fine. It's all part of the plan. Trump's gonna, like, wipe it all off the thing. They're gonna... And it's like...
They believe that. They did.
Yeah, and he's like, I cannot believe that my brother still does not understand that Trump not only does no longer has the power to do that, but also didn't do it for people while he had the chance to.
Yeah, he does it. I mean, look what he did to Cohen and everyone else. And Giuliani, you think he's going to help him now that he's facing charges for, defaming the machine that counts the votes, whatever that company is?
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys see also the quote from Trump after he was acquitted? I don't have it up, but something to the effect of, "This is just like the beginning. We're still making America great again." And
Stop!
Yeah. You're giving them hope.
Likes you.
Hope.
Res for 100 said fragmented countries of America. Yeah, kind of. Inkboy for 2 said USA is more like 50 countries than one. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's really a problem. I don't think I mean, it's a problem with the way it doesn't function, I mean. But, I mean, the idea is probably fine. There are how many countries are in Europe, and then they're all part of a union, and they manage to function better, but they're set up as a union. They're set up, and they don't have a something that was a union that they try to finagle into a democracy.
Yeah, right.
Even within the European Union, it isn't all rosy, even if we are like 27 countries now.
Yeah.
But with the 7 countries, we still have to manage a lot in intercultural, dynamic relationship with each country. And there are particular groups of countries that keep to themselves, like you got the Scandinavians, you got the Western Europeans, you got the Mediterranean, and then you got the eastern side of Europe that all like have been in the influence sphere of the former USSR of Russia today.
And there's the thing is it's not perfect, but it is. Right. But it is sort of, it can be looked at as a guideline. It can be looked at as like there are other ways to do things, and I think this is a problem that's deep rooted in American history and American education.
Right.
Our way is the only way. Right. We're the only country that knows how to do anything. We can't look at other countries and see how they're doing things because there are no other countries. There's only America and not America, and if it's not America, it's bad.
And English. Right? You have to speak English.
Oh my God. Okay, so I'm Canadian, and there are a lot of things in Canada that I think we can do better at. And one of the reasons why I don't think we do better at it is because we're too busy being like, well, at least we're not as bad as America. I'm like, can we stop comparing ourselves like that?
Yeah, that's interesting. That's the kind of stuff I want to know from you guys.
Well, we do really well when it comes to a lot of global statistics. We're not usually the very, very tippy top, but we're usually within like the top 10, top 5 when it comes to like happiness and education and wealth and stuff like we're usually pretty high. But however, we're generally kind of good at everything. But we've got a couple things that could be better if we just slightly tweaked it, just a little bit. But we're not going to because we're like, but we're not America though.
That's really funny.
That you always say sorry for everything.
Sorry. We're sorry. There was one thing that I thought was hilarious when Trump first started his tariff war. And it was an American newscaster talking to a Canadian newscaster. So it was like MSNBC talking to like CBC or something. I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was really funny because the correspondent in America was like, so how do Canadians feel about what's going on? What are they thinking? And the Canadian newscaster was like, I mean, I'm sorry, but I think you kind of hurt our feelings.
Oh, that's so funny.
And it's like, we've been working together for so long, and we've like joined in your wars to help you guys in so many different things, and you're just kind of being mean.
Yeah.
Why?
That's an understatement. Yeah.
And the newscaster was like so adorable. She was just like, I just don't understand why this is happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're being abused by our neighbor.
It's so cute.
So
What were you saying? Feline? What'd you say?
I said that I think that goes for most of the world. We don't know what the heck is going on in America.
Yeah. Res for 20 said, watching QAnon morons have existential crisis post inauguration was chef's mwah, mwah. It was. I've kept a little bit of a side eye on it, and it's been like it's one of those things where it's like you feel bad, where it's like yes, you have ruined your life, but it's like you can only feel so bad. You can only be like, you had total control over this, and you're harming people. Just stop.
I mean, if it weren't so serious, it would be funny. Yes. Like behind closed doors, it's like, well, effing, idiot. But then you think about the seriousness of what words, the power that they hold, and it's scary. It's really scary. And that's why, my kids are, everyone's doing distance learning, and I'm listening to what's the teacher saying. I have my daughter play it out loud, and I try and encourage the teachers to talk about current events, talk about politics, because they got to know, they got to know what's going on in the world. It's important for the future.
It's bizarre. It's really bizarre that if America thinks that they are so great, why they wouldn't want to teach other countries ways of doing things. It's like, well, maybe you might find out you're not as great as you think you are. I need to give Puck some boops for all the super chats. And Helios for 5 said, I am fully convinced that Trump will run again and that things will escalate even further because he was acquitted, so he can push even further. I mean, that could be a thing too that happens. Puck? Come here.
I think he'll run again too. That's one of the questions I wanted to ask you guys. And sort of something that just from what you were just saying. Oh, he's getting a boop.
He's getting.
Did you get it?
Boop, 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 boop. You're not getting a nerd though. These are my nerds.
Why does she do that with my nose all the time? What is that? So cute.
Puck's like, is my life a joke to you?
I know. Why are you doing this to me? When you were talking about that, I'm kind of thinking about the American flag. My husband and I were talking about it, and we're like, isn't it weird now how symbolism, I mean, when it comes to the American flag, at least, you think, instead of thinking America or being, proud, or did you give him a treat? Oh, no. I shouldn't say that. Mine's going to freak out. He's so cute.
Oh, there he goes.
Now he's like, okay, bye. I just wonder what it's doing to our psyche when it comes to being proud. I mean, when I see an American flag, I do relate it to Trump, and that sucks,
That's unfortunate. Yeah,
what do you think they see that?
Yeah, there's a thing when it comes to like a nationalism in America, and as a Canadian, I don't get it. There are some things that the thing is like when you live in a country and there's lots of people in your country, hell, even if there isn't that many people in your country, somebody's an asshole. So there's going to be assholes in your country. Period. End of sentence. So why do you want to have some kind of this strong tie to this asshole because you're from the same place, because you happen to be I understand a little bit of pride as in you want the place that you live in to be good,
right?
But that doesn't come from just believing it's good. That comes from working and learning and educating and making the place you live in better than you got it. And so I mean, that's one of the things that I want even to do with this show, is to bring something that I don't think exists because I want to join a community, and when I leave it, I want it to be better off than when I got here. And so it's, and I kind of like to do that no matter where I go. I don't want to leave, when I go to the bar, when it's open, I don't want to leave my table a giant clusterfuck mess.
I know, I'm like that too. Yeah. Right.
It doesn't
consider it. Yeah.
I'm not gonna do the waitress's job to do all of the cleaning and everything up after the fact, but I'm not gonna like dump my drink purposefully everywhere and put sand or salt all over the damn place, right? Like, I'm not gonna do that. That's rude and awful, and what's wrong with you? But there are people who do that, and it's like, don't though.
Well, they have no empathy. They've never been a server, or
they have and they don't care.
They don't care, and that's sad. And it reminds me of that is it Gifford, who was shot in the head in Arizona, Republican. I don't know what her title was. She was shot in the head with an automatic assault rifle, and she was all pro-gun everything until it happened to her. And what do you know? When something happens to, it just doesn't matter until it happens to you. Basically, it sounds there's a good handful of things where that tends to be the mentality, because it's empathy isn't, some of empathy I think is sort of natural because we're social. We're social creatures. Some degree that's going to stop you from necessarily doing the maximum amount of bullshit you can do is going to prevent you. However, because you're worried it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. Yeah, what's the reason?
That's not the same as being taught empathy, being taught how to treat other people, being taught how to behave appropriately in society. And so I think that, especially with social media, it's so easy to just make excuses to not, oh, well, this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, listen, you can have whatever issue you have. That's okay. But just because there's a reason for your behavior doesn't excuse your behavior. So if you decide that Trump has this, if you were to psychoanalyze him and you were a professional and you decided he had all these issues, he had like whatever, I think people were saying that maybe he had dementia, and people were saying he was mentally sound, and it's like, okay, those might be reasons why he's doing what he's doing, but they're not excuses. Maybe his dad hit him with a belt when he was a kid, so he's really angry. It doesn't matter. You still don't get to behave in this manner. And the only thing I can really, really hope for, and I think Georgia probably is the best example of this. Vote in your local elections.
Oh, that's a good point.
There's such a big grandstand about. There are laws in Canada that say you're only allowed to campaign for so long. There's like campaign start and end dates. You're not allowed to campaign for 2 fucking years. Your campaigning when you're in office is how well you're doing in office. So like right now, because the vaccine for COVID got delayed, Trudeau is losing poll numbers.
Right.
Because the way he's able to manage and run government is his platform. That is his campaigning. Because how he does his job depends on whether or not he's going to get in or not. So his campaign amount of time is far shorter than, the 4 years that Trump was campaigning for while he was president.
Yeah, interesting how you guys have that. That's interesting.
But in your local elections, they have far, far, far more power than I think a lot of Americans realize, because there's so much media and grandstanding when it comes to the big presidential election. And by the time the big presidential election comes out, I'm sorry to inform you, but it's too late.
Too late.
You fucked up. You missed your chance.
Such a good point.
Vote in your local shit, guys. I believe in you. You can do it. Get rid of Mitch McConnell, goddamn turtle man.
I know he's.
If I may add, the local elections have the most effect on your own living area, on the self, and not necessarily the bigger presidency campaign races, because those are more about general broad strokes of policies and changes. But the local elections have the most influence on, for example, the budgeting in the schools locally, or the streets, or other local things.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. If you want local change, you need to vote locally, but your local change also affects federal change once it starts on
Right.
like the polling seems to indicate that the majority of people, Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter, want a higher minimum wage. If you start voting for that at a local level, and you start voting for that at like for governors and for city officials and anybody that's going to be sort of part of the Senate or the House, you start voting that way, and you start consistently voting that way in your local stuff, the federal government will have to follow suit. Remember that your government is set up so that the states are supposed to be able to make those decisions for the states. If your state says, I want $15 minimum wage, and they make that change, the federal government can't stop them. That's absurd.
Yeah, governors especially have a lot of power, but there's I can't even believe I'm going to say this, because this is just, the movie's kind of terrible, but there's a 2020 film. I was trying to look it up. It has Steve Carell in it. It's called Irresistible, and they talk about the whole movie is about just this, where the guy is running for mayor, and the Democratic Party is trying to push him to run as a Democrat, even though he's Republican. But it's really interesting to watch, because that's how effective it is. When you're voting on a local level, it does, have that ripple effect too, obviously.
Yeah, the way, so we have, in Canada, we have provincial and we have federal, right? So usually by the time anything changes federally, it's changed on a majority provincial level. So when gay marriage went through on the federal level of Canada, pretty much every province had already been like, yeah, no, this is already legal here. We don't, but because there's also no like state lines saying that, oh, well, if you get married in Ontario but it's illegal in Saskatchewan, that if you're married in Ontario you can't do anything. It's still official. You can't stop you. So it's not like, oh, well, I'm buying a house in Saskatchewan with my wife, but I have a wife. It's like, well, you're already married. The law was only about the official marriage. They have to recognize it. They don't get a choice. So eventually it just gets changed on the federal level, because people vote for more progressive policies on the local level. Right. And so, it can go either way. It doesn't have to be progressive. You could have more conservative things. Right. There's been times where we have a far more conservative federal government in Canada, but the policies that end up going through on a provincial and a federal level are more progressive, because the federal government isn't going to... that's not what it does. Right. And so the same sort of thing applies in America. It's not what the federal government's supposed to be doing. The federal government isn't going to go out of its way to stop the states because they have a lawsuit on their hands, because that's the way, take advantage of the way your system is built. You can do it. You have the power. Yeah.
That's why there's so much outrage at Governor Newsom, at least where we are in California. They do have they have more power when it comes to the president, because being a governor of a state. It's all interesting stuff.
This is why people say call your local officials, but the thing is when they say call your local officials, they don't explain why. Why does it matter if you call your local official? So good.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Explain it so that people have more confidence to actually do it, because power is supposed to be to the people. It should be us.
The answer is because you outnumber them and you give them their paycheck. It doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. If anything has told you anything about this election, it should be that it does not matter if you're Democratic or if you're Republican. If you bully him enough, he will do the thing.
I know,
because he wants his paycheck. He wants his job. They'll do the thing. You don't. It doesn't mean you have to go vandalize their house. It doesn't mean you have to do any of that kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
It just means that you could have every right to protest. You have every right to call his office 24/7. People, this is the day and age of the internet and information. You can write a bot.
I mean,
if you want to, that will send. You can set your phone to set an automatic text or an automatic message that goes out whenever the hell you decide to go. It goes out, and you can set that to your public official.
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, everything's at our fingertips now.
You've got everything. You have all of it. You have all of it in your hot little hands. You can do it. You don't need news outlets. You don't need, because the thing is, the news outlets will report on what's going on when it's going on. They can't be your voice because you need to do it before they can say anything about it.
Yeah. Yep,
the answer is bully them.
I know.
Then again, they tried that with Mitch McConnell on January 6th.
Okay, Mitch McConnell is a very, very special case.
Oh, you know
Mitch
what? I was going to say
is so convinced. Mitch McConnell is so convinced and so old that he is the representative from Kentucky. The reason he is in the position that he's in is because he is from Kentucky. And because everybody is convinced that Kentucky will never change. You can make that difference, Kentucky.
Right.
Are you sick of the Turtle Man? Because I'm sick of the Turtle Man, and I don't even live there.
God, I was seeing those memes with Franklin, and I'm like, this is so right on. This is exactly what he looks like. He's just, the guy's a douche. And I was going to say, oh yeah, I was going to try and relate it to this combo with, and then I was like, oh no, never mind. I was thinking of Lindsey Graham, but did you guys see?
Oh, Lindsey Graham is awful too.
Lindsey Graham, have you seen what he said? I was asking Jamal, I swear to God, I heard him say this, but maybe it was a dream or something, like, confirm this. I heard him saying a couple days ago that they're going to try and that Kamala Harris should be expecting to be impeached as well. So they're at least putting forth.
Oh yeah, I remember something about that. Yeah.
So this relates to the whole presidential stuff with Trump and what we're talking about. He's now, there's they're pissed and whatever, and so going back and forth and using impeachment as some sort of weapon. That's what I think we're going to see here. I mean, to impeach Kamala for what statements she made before she was even vice president and about Black Lives Matter. I don't even know what else.
The thing is that you didn't, because the Republicans didn't hit Trump, they can't hit anybody else with impeachment.
Yeah,
because you've set a standard. So now anybody can be like, well, Trump did this and Atwood didn't get impeached, so therefore this shouldn't be impeached over here. And it relies on a vote. Yeah. And the Democrats have the majority right now.
Right, as it should.
So fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them. Sorry, you guys had it for a while. So
this is the thing. You can't sit there and claim unity, and then just be like, listen, I think Trump should be impeached, but I'm not gonna vote it because fuck you guys. It's like,
yeah. How about the guy from Missouri? Oh god.
Unity is a two-way street, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Unity doesn't mean do whatever I say.
It's even worse. Moments after the impeachment vote in the Senate, he literally said, and I quote, practically and morally responsible.
Yes. Had he read that statement before, it would have possibly had a different, we probably wouldn't have had a different outcome, but it would have been more impactful in the right direction. Why did he wait till the end to say that? Why did he wait until Trump was acquitted? Such a great point.
Because Mitch McConnell is a piece of shit.
Yeah. Can I say I'll say coward, but you know what I mean. P-U-S something else. Y. I don't know.
A
Whatever.
pussy?
The guy's a dude. Big as a douche.
I think Mitch McConnell's got a lot of balls. It takes a lot of balls to be like, I don't think this man should easily be impeached. No. Don't impeach him.
He's talking out of both sides of his mouth, but that brings up a really good point. How is it that they're voting for the people that put money in their pockets, who's going to fund their whatever they run for next, if they do, instead of what's right and what versus wrong.
Well, the thing is at the end of the day, Trump isn't the one paying them. If anybody saw my stream about Trump's tax nonsense going on, that dude is broke. That dude is
he's supposed to be. Yeah.
He is so fucked by the time the IRS is through with him. And now the IRS is no longer stuck on hold because he's president. So the thing is there's a decent chance he's not going to be able to even run for president again anyway, because he's going to be a fucking felon for tax evasion.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter.
Georgia and the phone call and
be blessed,
soliciting
Georgia. Be blessed.
A government official or whatever. Yeah, that.
Can some people from Georgia move to Kentucky? That'd be cool.
I know, right? Right. It just sounds like think about your kids. I mean, my kids are well versed in all of this stuff, and they're extremely liberal, but they are, what does it look like to our kids? And not to sound like cheesy or something, but like, oh, what are we showing the kids? But
think of the children.
Like, we didn't win. Like, I'm gonna throw a fit. We didn't win, so therefore it was they cheated. No, this is with zero proof. I've never seen such ridiculousness. I mean, they had virtually zero. No, they had no proof. There was not one piece of evidence. And we have people over Facebook and friends and family where I'm just like, sorry, I mute them or I delete them because it's not factual. Like, forget the party thing. It's like coronavirus. It's not about what party you're on. It's not a party issue. It's about science and fucking facts and what's real and not.
Well, and you get a lot of that projection there, right? You get a whole lot of people saying that, oh, well, you're politicizing it, and it's like, no, Trump politicized it. Trump made it about politics. Trump took every disaster he possibly could and made it about politics and used anything he could to slander anything that anybody else did well. Remember the bushfires?
No.
No, there were fire, and he's like, "Oh, you gotta rake the forest."
You've gotta rake the forest, and they're not. What are you? What the fuck?
He was saying that, and he was like, "Oh, you guys are doing such a good job. You guys are doing such a good job. You guys can do. You guys are so much better than these guys over here about it." And all the while was cutting their funding.
I know he just spews lies. 3,000 lies are what they verified. He's told. I'm sure there's many more, but when he came out here, we have a ton of windmills everywhere in Palm Springs, and so he came out here for a split second, and he was talking about how the wind turbines are ugly, and they I can't even they cause cancer. I can't remember.
Yeah. They're really bad for birds.
They kill some birds, yes, but like, let's weigh things out here. It's energy, and he doesn't want anything that has to do with clean energy.
No, that's because he thinks the people that are voting for him are the coal people who do coal. But the other problem with that is, again, we're back to the education system. The people who are voting for him aren't educated in the economics of the coal industry and what's going on with it. So even though they gave tax breaks to and put money into the coal industry, it didn't save any jobs. None of that went downwards. None of that trickle-down nonsense happened. And so, like, if you want another interesting video about how you're getting tax breaks and you're making record amounts of money, and meanwhile you're shutting down stores, you're laying people off, you're cutting your product, you're doing this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
I don't think this is just not the way to do it. Just check out my video that I did about, I was reading through what Dan Price had to say about it. But there's automation is a beautiful, wonderful thing.
Sure. Yeah,
but you need to do it properly. Right. Being able to factory farm and remove the majority of meat and cow and chicken farming and pig farming is a good thing. It's good for the economy, it's good for the environment, it's good for capitalism, it is good in general. However, you need to be able to transition, and you can't leave people behind when you do that transition.
Exactly.
Right? So when you start getting these farmers who are like, oh no, I'm going to be out of a job, so I vote against it, that shouldn't be their reason for voting against it. It shouldn't, because there should be policies and processes in place to get those people to where they need to be and in a position where they're going to survive and be fine. Hell, given how much money most industry makes, a lot of the time you could just either buy land off those people and have them set for life if you actually paid a proper amount for it, or
there are a lot of options, yeah.
Or you could grandfather those people. That's how much money these corporations are making. They're going to make so much bank off of not having to pay this, or the other thing. They could grandfather that 50 or 60-year-old farmer, hell, 40-year-old farmer, for the rest, give them their pension and a good amount of pay for the rest of their life, and they'll be good to go. They'll be set for life, and they don't even have to worry about finding another job. This should not be, between America and Canada, our countries are so rich, and the corporations make so much money. This would be drops in a bucket to them. It's nothing. And so this should not be the reason why companies are being stunted in being able to move forward with automation. This should not be the reason why these people are voting against things like this. Because they're not really voting against automation. They're not really voting against progress. They're not voting against capitalism. They're voting because they're afraid of poverty. And they shouldn't be. For so many reasons.
Yeah, it would be a process. It would be a slow process, but that's the direction we're going. That's what we argue with our family members. Like, they want to take, make all to try and start implementing, the car industry, making the cars be electric and versus gas. We're going that way. Like, you can either get on board and adapt because change is hard, but like that's what's happening. So you resist all you want.
The argument tends to be like personal responsibility, right? Well, the corporation or the government isn't responsible for taking care of you. It used to be. Corporations used to be responsible for taking care of their employees.
Yeah. Well.
So when you got laid off or you got retired out of your position, the company used to provide for you either training or a proper fucking retirement plan.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore, and it's viewed as looking for a handout because you've dedicated. They want this level of dedication from you when you know they're gonna drop you like a fucking rock as soon as you start making a certain amount of money, because they will literally fire you if they feel like they're paying you a reasonable wage. So you're in a situation where they don't owe you shit. Well, you don't owe them shit either. Fuck off. So you have this bizarre fucking, nobody owes you anything, and so you should be responsible for getting your own training, and you should blah 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 blah. And it's like, to a degree, yes, you do have some personal responsibility in planning for your future. You do have some personal responsibility for taking the training if it's offered to you. You do have some personal responsibility to educate yourself. However, when the things that are set up in a way specifically to fuck you over, I think you're allowed to be like, hey, can we change the system so it stops fucking me over? That'd be cool, thanks.
Yeah, okay, thanks, bye.
Right, I'm not asking for anything. I'm asking for you to stop a thing.
Yeah.
May I point out about something, a little bit backtracking? There's also a huge possibility that when you don't transition now, it's only going to cost a lot more later on, because it's already expensive now.
Right.
But because if you're just waiting, we are running out of resources already. We are making it worse for the climate. So soon we're reaching 2 degrees temperature rise within this century. That's causes the sea levels to rise again. I'm not
Right.
sure about Florida. Going to by the end of the century.
What Florida?
Eventually, yeah.
What Florida? I don't see any Florida. What are you talking about?
I know, me too. Let's forget it exists.
No, I mean like it'll be underwater.
Oh.
There's also like the thing is that there's a lot of economic stress that will go on, not even
Sure.
just including your gas prices are going to go up on your car, but
Right.
that's gas prices includes your heating and your electricity and your food production and like what's
Yeah.
happening in Texas right now. Like you're not
Exactly.
ready for this kind of
Just,
weather. People like to when somebody who doesn't usually get a lot of snow gets a lot of snow and everybody's like, oh my god, we're crashing and everything's falling apart, what the fuck, and it's like this much snow, and so people who get like a lot of snow are like, what do you mean? And that it's a funny joke, but the reason that happens is because they're not prepared for that weather. The roads there are not built to withstand that kind of weather. The power lines, the infrastructure is not built in a way that is conducive for it to survive in and work properly and function in those temperatures. And when the temperatures start fluctuating down, when we do hit that +2 degrees, all of your shit is fucked. Your infrastructure's fucked, your roads are fucked, your internet's fucked. Actually, the only thing that might be saved is your internet, but you're not going to have any power to use it. And the only reason your internet will be saved is because Starlink.
And it's only going to get worse over time.
And people
Right.
will starve, and people will freeze, and people will boil, and people will fucking die.
Yeah, and their politicians will fly to Mexico and be like, sorry for ya. Ted
Oh,
Cruz
yeah.
needs to be smacked around.
Poor
With climate changing, it's only going to get extremer.
Right.
People
Texas
are
just a
like saying,
taste.
but it's so cold in Texas right now. How
Yeah.
can there be climate
That's the
change?
problem.
That's exactly what you expect
Oh my
with
God.
climate
Yeah.
change.
It's karma in real time. It's like, hi guys, so sorry, but you know, I mean, it's funny that that's the demographic that is suffering right now, who mostly vote for people who don't believe or allegedly don't believe in climate change. I mean, you have to wonder if they just, which is even worse, if they believe in it and then they, you know, pretend not to because it serves their purpose. Sad, and she's right. It's gonna get worse, not better.
I man, it's absurd. It is absolutely okay. So during the last shutdown that we had in Canada, because we had a spike, so we shut things down again. So to bring the covfefe down, there were one or two politicians that broke quarantine. They got on a plane to go and fly somewhere. As soon as we found out, Canadians were pissed. And you want to know what happened to those people? They got fucking fired. They lost their jobs. They got kicked the fuck out of government. Like, within a week. One of them was under Ontario Premier, so Premier Ford, who's the guy, he's the Premier of Ontario, one of the guys under him did it. Ford found out and was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And that dude was fired. One of them was a woman from a different province, and she, same thing, gone within a week, out. What do you think should be happening to Ted Cruz right now?
Get him out of there.
Resign. He shouldn't have to resign. He should be getting fired.
Yep.
It shouldn't be on him to actually do the right thing. It should be, because he's clearly not going to. It should be on whoever is in charge to be firing this motherfucker.
Wait, you know what? He and then it came out that his poor little dog, had been left in the house. The neighbors took pictures. It
What
was
the
freezing,
fuck?
obviously. They left the fucking dog in the house, and with no lights. The dog's poor little face is through the. I'll put it in Discord. Sitting there.
No!
Yeah, she had no heat, no lights, no nothing. I mean, can you imagine how scary it is? Yeah, this is the person and how people treat animals.
You're
We
gonna have a
can really create
dogsicle.
that.
I have a very, very high dislike of people who mistreat animals.
Oh,
Like a
no,
very,
yeah,
very
100%.
high, like, no, fuck that person in particular. I actually use my dog and dogs in general as a litmus test. If you don't if you don't like dogs, it doesn't mean you have to absolutely love dogs. If you have, I should say, if you don't like dogs, if you have a dislike for dogs, not just like a, oh, you know, they're not my favorite. I don't mean if you have an active dislike for dogs, stay the fuck away from me. I don't want you in my life. Go away.
Good sign of a psychopath. I mean, you don't want to, just no.
Dogs are too good for us, and we made them that way.
Oh, okay, here's the cute little face. This is so sad. Oh.
I wish I could pull it up, but I kind of can't with the way I have things set up right now.
Okay, I'm gonna put it in the Discord and you can see it.
I might be able to. Okay, so I apologize. There might be some lag. I'm gonna try and pull this picture up so people can see it.
I just want to verify it on Snopes, and they say it is in. Well, they're saying it's a mixture of true and what's false, so I don't know. I'll have to read that. But here's the poor little photo. I'll cut it out while you guys chit chat about whatever's next. There's so many things that go along with this subject. I mean, let's see here. It's a little poodle. It's just so sad. It just gives you a good indication of who that guy is. Like we didn't already know, but I mean, do you remember Trump talking about his wife saying, you know, oh God, what did he? And he called him lying Ted Cruz, lying Ted, maybe, I don't know. Whatever, he gives these people names, and then the guy then Cruz just is like, oh no, it's fine. Yeah, Trump's who we want in office. It's like nobody has any integrity at all. So frustrating.
Absolutely none.
Yeah.
Absolutely zero.
I see in the chat that Gap has mentioned that AOC has raised $3.2 million for Texas. That's just amazing.
Wow. Well, he's partying in Mexico. Well, he's back now. She's actually working and doing something for his state. Wow.
Oh, he got straight shamed into coming back. As soon as he got, I think one of my favorite messages I saw about that was when somebody has said, oh man, I'm gonna go on vacation. Hold on, I'm gonna send two messages that absolutely ruin Ted Cruz's life, and then go on vacation. Bye. And we're talking about his wife. His wife being like, maybe she didn't want him there. Maybe she was like, fuck this guy.
She probably is.
I wouldn't want him around. Trump called her a cow or something, didn't he?
Yeah, he was totally disrespectful to her. I mean, how rude. But speaking of wives leaving, what do you guys think about Melania? Because my mom and I used to take bets. When he's out of office, she's going to file for divorce immediately. But then we kind of found out through the friend of hers that they're, you know, they match on their, not just political beliefs, but just beliefs on everything in general. And it's like, wow, those two were really on the same page. Gross. But I wonder if they'll divorce now that he's out of office. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think he's got that on his mind. I think, like, at least not him. She might. There was one picture or set of pictures that I saw or a video that I saw was brilliant. It was so well cut together, and it was Trump leaving office and Trump looking really upset, and Ivanka and Junior and Eric all looking really upset, and Melania just smiling and waving. She's like, later, get me out. I didn't sign up for this shit.
Vibes. So nice. Gotta go.
I can't imagine what that woman's life is like, and I'm a little bit sympathetic to it because I can only imagine the books she can write now.
Right.
That I would be surprised if we didn't get any books. I would be shocked if she didn't write something. She might not be able to while she's still married. Hell, she might just wait for the dude to die or be in prison.
We were kind of thinking that she signed some kind of contract. We were thinking that she was to stay with him, you know, because neither of them believed that they were going to win or that Trump was going to win. So they were like, holy shit. And I'm sure she went, I didn't sign up for this, which is why she didn't care about whatever she's supposed to decorate for Christmas, and you hear that recording, and she's like, I don't want to do this anyway. And
Yeah.
you know, who cares about the children? That goes through laws. No, she could have used her platform to do so much more, especially when it came to the families that were separated and the children that were put in cages. I mean, you're a mother, for God's sake. You know, how could just anybody that would have that platform, you would think, would use it? And she did virtually nothing.
I think that might have been on purpose. I honestly think she wanted nothing to do with it, and I also I also think that she probably also didn't want to make things worse and have, like, she just didn't want to deal with the press. She didn't want to deal with, like, even if she was she probably didn't want to help Trump. So, like, she probably don't, like, if I do positive things with this, it's just gonna look good for him, and fuck that guy.
Yeah, she probably, that could be.
She clearly wants nothing to do with him. Like, obviously, like, her slapping his hand away, she wants nothing to do with that man, and I do not blame her. She's like, listen, I married you, and as willing as I was to put up with you in some situations when we were around each other in private, now you've brought me onto some crazy-ass public stage that is the presidency of the United States of America, and there are people waving guns around, and I'm a foreigner, and you're doing a lot of rhetoric about how foreigners are the bad.
She's a foreigner that has no empathy for other foreigners, which is so weird, though.
Inkboyford who said, what are your views on people who overly love dogs? Listen.
Overly? Is there such thing?
I imagine that there can be. There are people who treat dogs as, like, children in a bad way. Like, you know how you have, like, a spoiled little shit... yeah, like a spoiled little shit child? People do the same thing to dogs sometimes, and don't ruin your dog.
yeah, that's a little much. I'd say. Let the thing walk. It doesn't need a stroller.
Listen. Don't do it. Treat your dog like a dog. One of the reasons why people don't like smaller yappy dogs is because they aren't trained properly, because people don't think they need to train them because they're a smaller dog. Stop doing that. It's not good for your dog.
It's annoying. Yeah, so true. Yeah.
Dogs are ingrained to have a sense of purpose, and you have to train them to give them that sense of purpose, because historically we have already a relationship with dogs going back over 20,000 years ago. We first domesticated the wolves, and wolves were given the task to hunt together with humans. They still have that kind of relationship with humans today, that they need to be given a sense of purpose. That's why you train dogs.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they do have a sense of purpose. That's true, as with horses, too.
A lot of animals need something to do, including humans.
Besides follow you to the bathroom and sit outside, which is really cute, but they're pack animals, so, you know, that's what they do. Protect.
They're buddies. They're doing buddy things. Heckin' good buddy things. There's so much to talk about this stuff that it's like it can go in so many different directions, and like I don't know if I feel bad for Melania, but that would be a book that I would want to read. I like a memoir, especially if it was an honest one. Whether or not you could tell it was honest, I don't know.
Let's try honest.
Well, I don't know how dishonest of a person she is. She didn't do much. She's not Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who literally spent days upon days lying, and then when she left was like, I hope people remember me for how honest I was.
Oh, that's so, yeah, Sarah, I don't think that's what that's not what we're thinking.
That was so absurd. Hey, do you guys remember that Spencer guy? What was his first name? Something Spencer?
What's it in, like, narrow it down a little.
At the beginning of the Trump administration, he was the press secretary.
Yes. Press secretary. Yet he got real mad. He would get, like, real mad. He had a temper on him.
Yeah. Do you guys remember that he had, like, a big beef for years with Dippin' Dots?
No, I've never heard this.
Okay, this man, Sean Spicer? I don't remember his name.
Yes.
he had like a Twitter beef that from years ago with Dippin' Dots. So like Dippin' Dots would put out an advertisement and he would respond on his like official Twitter being like, "Fuck you, Dippin' Dots, you're not real ice cream."
Okay, I gotta look that shit up.
They would like beef back with him, and it was so funny. They got over it. They're friends now, but
like thank God. So I was really worried. I'm just kidding. Hey, Dippin' Dots are amazing, and I buy them every time I'm going through the mall or whatever, and they have the little thing. I'm like, I don't care. But that's besides the point. How funny that he would waste his time on that.
I don't think it started when he was press secretary. I'm pretty sure it was
prior to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He also was on Dancing with the Stars, I think, right? I swear I saw that. I'll look it up.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. He was
Richard?
trying to.
I don't remember his name. Something Spencer. He was mad. Hey, Manya's back. Manya.
Oh, yay. Hi, Manya.
Hey.
Welcome back, Manya.
How was it?
Thank you. It was alright. They didn't have that artificial cow, but they said they'll have it by Tuesday.
Nobody in chat knows what you're talking about.
Yes, impregnate that artificial cow.
Would you like to tell chat what you've been up to today?
Tell them.
Sorry, what?
Would you like to tell chat what you've been up to today?
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. So Shesh asked me, like, on Friday, she's like, "Oh, we're doing this on Sunday, will you be happy for that?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, it's Sunday." And then immediately after that, my manager calls me and he's like, "Actually, I need you on Sunday to induct some, contractors who are coming on site." I'm like, "Seriously?" So I say yes, because I'm, 24/7 on call, so
it's
yeah, I get
job.
paid for that. And, yeah, it's my job. So these guys, they artificially inseminate cows. And they are going to hold workshops for next 3 to 4 weeks. Practicing that. Now, they told me today they don't have their artificial cow. So guess
a real one.
Who they're going to practice that on?
Did you do it? Did you try?
No. Nope.
Not yet.
You will be no, never. You will be surprised at how huge those animals are once you stand near them. They're huge. They look gentle giants from far off, but when you stand near them, they're like huge, big animals. And I'm just like, I'm gonna keep my respectable distance. I'm like, you guys, you do you. But it was, so my job was to make sure that they're familiar with the site rules, and who's the point of contact in case of emergencies and stuff. So yeah, that's where I was this whole time.
Gup says that Sanders is running for governor of Arkansas. I heard that she was running. No, I heard she was running, but I couldn't remember where it was. Apparently it's Arkansas. Arkansas, please, don't do it.
Wait, Sanders, we're talking about Bernie.
No, Sarah Huckabee.
Oh.
Sarah Sanders.
Yeah.
Well, that's where she can win. That's why she's gonna, she can win there.
Somebody in the chat, I didn't see who it was, somebody in the chat said that, I think it was Claire Bear, said I needed to come to America and run for office.
I know.
That will be cool. That will be so cool.
Are we talking about Huckabee Sanders?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, dear Lord.
I know. Dear Lord is right. I know.
Oh, this is why it's important that you vote locally.
Exactly. That will help things. This is sort of off topic, but kind of on. But in regards to, or among the whole cow lines and going on with like what it does to our environment and everything, I'm just going to read this from the Washington Post. It says, cow farts aren't that bad for the environment. Cows are ruminants of meaning that microbes in their multi-chambered stomachs help them digest by fermenting their food. This process produces the powerful greenhouse gas methane, which gets released into the atmosphere when they burp. So my dad was telling me the other day when we were cooking steaks, he's like, I can't look at it. Have you ever been to a slaughterhouse? And I'm like, yes, I hate it. I hate eating meat, but I love red meat so much. I would love to be, a vegetarian, but he started telling me about the effects that it has on the earth. And then when Manya came in and was talking about impregnating cows, I thought, what the hell? So Did you guys know that they're hard on the environment, even just with
They're hard.
farming?
It's not really too much because of the methane. It's because of the clear-cut farming that goes on. So that way they have the space that they need for the food, the amount of food that they need, and just the sheer number of cows that there are. If you stopped producing, the thing is like I'm not an advocate for the world going full vegan. I don't think that's very feasible. Now, I am a little bit more pro for it when you can factory farm meat without animals. So when you can factory farm, like, I've had the Beyond Meat burger. It's delicious. I have zero problem with this. I still don't think it's viable to remove it entirely because there are too many areas that rely on meat as part of one of their culture, two as part of their livelihoods and how they function, particularly smaller countries. I just don't think it's viable globally, but I do think it's viable for meat to not have such a gigantic ass section in the grocery store.
Right.
This idea that you need to eat meat for every meal is absurd, and all it is marketing. It's fucking marketing. Y'all got tricked by the fucking meat industry. It was a cool commercial that got everybody fucking eating steak every meal, and it's like, oh, this is high class because it's this. No, it's not.
Not good for you either. Yeah.
It's all fake.
Yeah. Oh, what do you know?
And it doesn't mean meat's not good. Doesn't mean you don't get rid of it. It just means that it's not good for you.
Yeah. It's like at our place also where I work, we try to keep it as humane as possible.
Oh, good.
Yeah, with you should see the the vets who come in to check the cows. You touch the cow and the vet is going to write you a fine. He's like, you're not going to touch the cow. Let the cow like move on its own and everything like that. You're not touching the cow. And the drivers who transport the cows, if the cows get injured during the transportation, they get fined.
Yeah, there's this is an American thing we're back to now. So America does not have nearly enough animal rights protections, which is how you end up with things like PETA that are just way extreme. In Canada, as far as I recall, it's been a while since I looked it up. I think I've mentioned this before. There's a type of factory farming, and it's awful, and it's horrible, and it's nasty, and don't do that. It's horrible. You basically got way too many animals cramped in way too small of a space, and they're not properly taken care of.
Right.
That is illegal with larger animals in Canada. It doesn't apply to birds yet. So you have like big ones with chickens. They still have to be kept in decent living conditions, but they're not. Chickens haven't been protected as much as they need to be yet. It's still not as bad as it could be, but it's not good enough. But part of that will change as automation goes through and as we get used to farming in buildings rather than farming outside for a lot of things.
Gup says to make one hamburger it takes 635 gallons of water.
That cow's got to drink, man.
Right, and they have to eat too, and it's hard on the environment. But I do. Oh, there she is. Hello.
Hey, hello. I made it.
Yay.
I don't know, like, if I made it on time, but I made it. I'm so sorry. Like, I said yes, and then I, like, yeah. But, job is job, work is work. Yeah. It's but I'm glad I made it.
Yeah, we're back. We're glad too.
We made it. We're foursome now.
Yes.
But I want to add something on the meat. There are still now alternatives coming in. We got now meat that is actually from vegetables and that tastes like meat.
Yeah.
And we're also getting in vitro cell meat production, cultured meat from vats, as it were. And those are alternatives that's now coming in and produced, and hopefully that can become a good alternative to actually slaughtered animal meat.
Agreed.
The only thing I'm worried about is how they transition from traditional industries to the modern new industries. That has to be done very carefully because the workers who have been working in the traditional industries, they kind of become redundant. And
Yup.
you have to be very careful about that. Or either you train them for the new industries and you use those existing workers for the new industries or the replacement industries. I think so that's the right way to go about it, because and it's the same with any other industry. Like we now want to go for like solar power and stuff, and we want to replace the mining and coal industry. All those employees that are working in those industries, you just can't forget them and put them aside. You're attacking their livelihood.
Yeah, right.
That's all they
There's
have known.
Chash was saying the same thing, but it's a process to get
Yeah, you
there
have to
eventually.
plan it very
Right.
meticulously. You just can't ignore.
yeah, there's also a whole shtick that you sort of that you need to be aware of, and I don't like that it's framed this way, and I think this is like just back from the 70s. This is the way things were kind of presented to people, and it's sort of just carried over, and it's that environmentalism is socialism. No, it's not.
God.
I know, but they push that.
It's
Trump
really
and
not.
the conservatives push that. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Solar
Anything new-
energy,
anything
solar
new
energy is not socialism.
God.
Being
So-
good for the environment does not mean it's
Yeah.
bad for capitalism.
No.
Exactly. So I get it. Like the traditional industries are going to put up a fight. They're going to this is what we have known. We are not budging from this unless you give us a subsidy or an exiting package or something like that to compensate. Not for the management. I'm not talking for the management. I don't like
Management
the
doesn't
board
need that.
stuff.
They don't need the bailout. Fuck them.
No.
They should have planned
Right.
for the
No.
future.
Yeah, it's for the people
Plan
on the
for a rainy
ground who are
day,
actually
assholes.
working.
Yeah.
So
Guess you don't need
yeah,
that new
they're going to put
iPhone,
up a
do you?
fight. And they will say, okay, you want to put us out of work. You know how many how many thousands of people you're going to render unemployed, and when they enter into the system, how it's going to burden you guys. So
Right.
we are the good guys here, and that's what they do. And then they go to the senators and stuff, and they fund them. They're like, listen, it's going to become your problem if you don't support us. So here, take our funding. Here's a little bit for you, and here you support us. They're going to put up a fight. But now it's up to the senators how they go about it. That's why I say, just saying it, okay, we are going to plan this transition in next decade. That's not practical at all. And you have to
Right.
give them an alternative. You have to give them an alternative, or else it's never gonna happen.
It's not
It's-
a decade transition. That's one of the reasons why that's not practical, is because everybody that was working in the industry that's just the industry moving naturally with what jobs are available. That's not helping anybody. That's you actually saying that you're not doing anything.
Yeah, it's going to be a process.
And the senators who are getting funded by these traditional industries don't want to make it their problem. They're like, I'll give it on to the next person who comes in. It will be their problem because
Yeah.
it's a big, massive project on a global level, on national level, state level, district level, yada, yada, yada. It's a big, massive project. And nobody wants it to be their problems, especially I think so. Today's generation senators, the old school ones, they just don't care. They are so comfortable with what they have that they just don't
Yeah.
care, and they've stopped caring. All they care about is the funding they get, the position they have, and all those surface level, superficial stuff they fight for. That's it.
Yep. So true.
It's
Hey, can I ask you a question,
easy
Manya?
Yeah.
Because I was trying to, the Prime Minister in Australia, or I'm sorry, in New Zealand is
Jacinda Ardern.
Jacinda. Okay, Ardern
Yeah.
How do I say?
Yeah,
She gets
you got it
pretty
right.
she gets pretty high marks. What do you think about her, and especially in relation to the topic of the video with Trump and that sort of thing? Like, how do we become more like you guys who will put somebody in office like that?
The problem is we still have some standards.
I like that.
America has lost
My
all
God.
its standards. It's like we have standards of behavior that are acceptable and that are not. And because we are a small nation, we just like 5 million people. We can just look each other in the eye and like, really? Did you say that? Did you just say that? Like seriously? And people are not afraid to have that conversation. They are not afraid to feel uncomfortable. I think so that comes from the history that New Zealand has
Yeah.
with its native people, the Maori, and the British rule that has happened there. Those that those wheels have already turned where people are ready to have those uncomfortable conversations and
Yeah.
work around them.
There
But
is something
I think
about
so.
social justice that has kind of and being offended by whatever, as if being offended is some kind of offense to somebody's morality, right? Or as if offending somebody is a crime, which it's not.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So when you treat a difficult conversation that you can just ignore by saying, well, you've offended me, and go full SJW on something, go full keyboard warrior, I think it's a really stunted conversation, particularly in America, because on social media Americans just assume they're talking to other Americans all the time.
Yeah. A very good example is about making cannabis legal in New Zealand. I was in favor of it. But when you look at it from the point of view from the workplace standards, from the workplace, and from people who do the testing for the workplaces, when those experts come in and they tell you the relationship, how it works, you kind of see their point of view too, why you don't want something to be legal. So we are ready to have those conversations, and we are ready to listen to each other's point of views. We get offended, but we put that aside. Okay, I'm offended, fine, but I'm gonna still listen to you. I'm gonna get over that. I'm gonna still listen to you. Plus, we have set certain standards that, for example, family is out of bounds. You don't comment on that. Commenting on someone's features is out of that, because the Maori people are so like integrated. I shouldn't use that word, but they are involved with the politics. You know, artwork and a lot of things like tattoos. It's part of their culture. So making fun of appearances of someone is like out of bounds because of that. You're like, it's part of culture. It's part of someone's life. It's something they can't help about. So let's focus on what really matters and just not focus on anything, all the garbage around it. Let's just keep it to one side.
Trump's behavior would not fly pretty well in any other country, because everybody would just look at him and be like, who gives a shit about what your opinion of Ted Cruz's wife is? What's your policy? Oh, well, they have this policy. I'm not asking what they can tell me what their policy is. I don't need you to tell me what their policy is. What's your policy? And so because like one of the things that ends up being really problematic is that America no longer has two parties.
You have Republican Party.
You have one party, and you've just got two people that play ping pong back and forth, so they all can get paid. And then you've got a handful. Exactly. You've got a handful of really, really, really good people that want to get shit done. On both sides. The fact that I have to put Mitt Romney in that group of people is absurd to me. I would have never thought that a couple of years ago. But you've got people who are part of the Republican Party and part of the Democratic Party. They're not really part of this party anymore, but they have to run as either this or that when they're not really that thing, because they don't have any other choice. What I would love to see is, I would actually love to see Trump run again and divide the hell out of the Republican Party, and I would love to see the people who aren't actually part of the Democratic Party take that opportunity to also divide the hell out of the Democratic Party at the same time. So all of a sudden you've gone from 2 to 4.
Lindsey Graham
would be
made a
amazing.
statement about that. He said we wouldn't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning the election against the Democrats had we not, if we didn't support Trump. So, I mean, what?
Oh, no.
Winning is important, not your policies. Like, your policies being effective is not important. Winning is important.
Well, and the thing is, the baffling thing about that is that they still don't, even if they lose, they still don't go anywhere. They're still the Republicans. They're still getting paid. They're still there. It changes nothing.
like all these issues that are basically all revolve around science should be looked at as not a political issue.
You've got too many people that are too many politicians. They're trying to manipulate. Well, they're trying to manipulate people, and they don't even understand the science that they're manipulating very well.
Yeah.
There is
they don't.
There is way too much anti-science in America, just period, which is bizarre.
I don't get it.
Because in some regards, America does still lead in some cases. You've got Elon Musk, you've got Tory Bruno, you've got you've got NASA, even though they get shit on by the government, still doing a damn good job with what they're given. So you've got the Perseverance rover, which was launched by UCLA, which is Tory Bruno. So you've got these private companies that are working with government agencies, which is brilliant. That's a great way to do things. That gives you this socialism and capitalism mix, which is fantastic. And what happened? You've got another gigantic rover on Mars. Good. That's fantastic.
That was good. I was so like...
It was very exciting. Wow. Yeah. It was.
I think so. I get it. I think so. I get it. Why people are so against science, because science kind of takes the control out of the hands of the traditional people who are religious, very religious, not moderately religious, because moderately religious do accept science and they're happy with that, but extremely religious people who have gone with certain narrative for such a long time, and since, you know, the racism has been abolished, not abolished, but is considered, you know, it's wrong, and, you know, and certain things are not acceptable, they see the control going out of their hands, and they see the control, and they have never worked with other people from the, if I may say, the other side before. And they see that loss of control, and it's frustrating. But instead of working with what they're getting and the fear of the unknown, I think so that's what drives them against science, because they want to hold on to that little bit ounce of a control that they have left in their lives and in the political strata, if I might say. So yeah, I get it where they're coming from, but it's not an excuse to behave like that. You gotta change. No. Change is the only constant that's there, and you have to go with it.
Yeah, and it's education. Go ahead.
Smitty's got a good point in saying that kicking the conservatives out of the Democratic Party should be the goal, not just splitting the party in half. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know how you do that without kind of splitting the party. But that makes sense to me too. That's a perfectly acceptable other approach to it. It's just a matter of like vote locally.
And also the education.
Also, your president is a conservative Democrat right now, so good luck.
And it's not bad to be a conservative. You can be a conservative, and you can make some really good points and can focus on some really good policies. You know, like Republicans. Like Republicans were the conservatives, and now they just become a circus. The real Republicans believe in limited government control and all that stuff. I don't know the rest of the list. Which is fine. Yeah, so you can work with what you have, even if you're conservative. It's the problem that pretending to work with the other party, putting down your foot, and say, no, la, this is what's going to happen. And then they say the other party does not care to have a bipartisan relationship when they just pull their hands up and just walk away. And don't pretend to be bipartisan if you're not going to be.
You've got two parties that are just playing grab ass with each other. So that's it. There's no, you need more than two parties. That's the end of the story. This is what happens. We kind of have this problem in Canada with our telecommunications companies. So monopolies aren't legal. However, Bell and Rogers, who are the two big telecommunication companies up here, have essentially made deals with each other that aren't, they're not contracts, they're not official deals, to create a duopoly. So they just basically they work together to, this is our territory, this is your territory, and nobody else is allowed in. And they've got so much shit up here that they were able to red tape Google and keep Google out of, and Google Fiber out of Canada for a very long time, and they still haven't finished getting in yet. They have to go through. So Parliament has been trying to deal with this for a couple of years now, and they're still not done because it's just such a problematic integrated issue. Because what are they going to do? Get rid of the internet for people? The government can't just come in and kick out a company. That's not how it works.
Internet neutrality was so important.
Well, we still have that up here.
Just gave it away.
We still have that up here. It's just a matter of it being that the problem is a duopoly instead of a monopoly. So there's two companies that are just not infringing on each other, and when one raises their prices, they do their price matching thing. So that way they're just the only two options, and they shit on people because they can, because they're the only two options, right? And nobody can get in.
Happened.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the government's trying to do something about it. It's just not that simple, especially during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Australia is facing a similar problem. Australia is facing a similar problem now with Google and the news and Facebook as well, because Facebook is now saying, no, I'm not going to show any news anymore. You go see what effect that has. Whilst Google is now really actually sort of trying to make some deals.
Yep.
But it's also a bit sketchy because they don't really want to give too much leeway.
There's actually a case about that right now. Australia just passed some law about, right? Yeah.
So they want Facebook to pay the news organizations for advertising or presenting the news material.
Yeah.
They're like, you want the news to reach to your subscribers? Pay for it.
I think
that's like happening.
I think there probably needs to be implemented some kind of reporting system for fake news, essentially. So when there's an article that people are like, this is fake, and then you can type in and explain why, then there should be a team of essentially fact checkers that go through and they look at the article, they read the article, and then they can just straight up like blacklist.
Yeah.
If you've like broken if we know that you're a tabloid site, you're blacklisted. Your links don't get shared, your shit doesn't get shared. It doesn't mean people can't go, you're not getting deplatformed. It just means that you've been flagged enough times that and you've been
more exposure.
Well, it's so that way you don't because I don't think it's reasonable for, let's say, Twitter or Facebook to have to go and fact check every single article every time it gets reported. That's absurd.
I agree on that.
Yeah.
And so I think that it would be reasonable for them to have sort of a department, which is a fact-checking department that does individual articles and then also looks into specific sites that produce that sort of content, so they can be like, listen, this site does this, we've checked it, we've gone through, we fact checked the whole thing, and that it doesn't get to be here, because a company should be allowed to make that decision. I think that would be beneficial and solve a lot of their problem, at least the problems that they have with Congress in particular, and the problems with fake news. And then I think you'd probably see a lot of slander go away too, because a lot of the slander would just get reported as fake news. So if somebody says, that person has a restraining order, here's a screenshot of a TRO, fake news. You're fake news.
Exactly. And you also see these monopolies and duopolies coming into play when the government does not invest in infrastructure and in those industries.
Yeah.
I would like an economy where the government is also a player. Like in India, we have private and national banks. So there are national banks and private banks. They both play. There are rules that are a bit more stricter for private banks, in case of like how much they have in like in cash amounts and stuff like how much they have to keep in reserves. But both are players, and customers have a choice. And in telecommunications also, the government has its own telecom company, which is BSNL, and then there are private ones also. So the competition was so high now that the price of calls and text messages are almost free. The calls and stuff and the internet data and stuff, it's like gone so low Like,
the government
damn.
is far too, particularly in America, the government is far too science and tech illiterate to be able to
Yeah.
even make policies or draw
And
up reasonable
that's
policies to do
how-
with
Yeah.
any of this whatsoever.
That's how Amazon became a monopoly.
That's right.
Fucking like invest
Jeff
in your
Bezos is- ugh.
traditional delivery system infrastructure and in your employees, and you wouldn't have had a monopoly like Amazon, who mistreats
Yeah.
its allegedly mistreats its employees.
Same with Uber.
Like,
the same. Yeah. They
Uber
don't want.
in
they want-
UK now.
Mhm.
In UK now, it's been declared that the drivers are employees of Uber. They're
Yep.
not. They're not contractors. They're employees
Yep. Same
because
with
they fought back.
you,
Well, hallelujah.
you
Yeah.
run into the same kind of problem with Tesla and Apple and their proprietary cable bullshit.
Yeah.
Bite me, or the right to repair garbage that goes on.
Yeah.
Of course, you should be able to fix the
Apple.
device you bought.
Oh,
Fuck
they're
off,
I know.
Apple.
Criminals.
Fuck off,
Yeah.
Tesla. You can both suck my dick, and your proprietary cables can eat ass. You fucking piss me off. Makes
They
me
have
angry.
too much money.
Wacom does it. Wacom does it for tablets. Tablets have the same problem. They have proprietary cables. You should in different countries. That's not a thing. They're not allowed because the government went. How about fuck you though? And you know what they did? They went okay, and they did it. America didn't do that, and now you've got to have like a different cable for every goddamn iPhone you have, and it's like why?
Oh,
and then
yeah. It's just,
and then if you
I
have to
know.
replace it, it's gonna cost you $400.
Yeah, it's
European
ridiculous.
Union, we got like regulations for that kind of stuff. We have how do you get a sort of trademark within all products within the European Union that has to have that mark on it. Otherwise, it's not safe. It's not it's not allowed to be sold within the European Union, and that goes for cables as well. They now want to make certain that every company
Yeah.
produces the same type of cable, so that there's less waste. Because if you already got a cable, you don't really need to get another one.
Do you know how absolutely boned everyone would be if proprietary cables were allowed to be a thing back in the 50s? When like people were getting used to having fridges and microwaves and ovens that and their houses were being built with electricity, and instead of having a standard for what plugs needed to be in your house, if there wasn't one, you're gonna buy a house from Apple and you'll only be able to plug Apple products into it.
Please,
Fuck
that's a nightmare.
off.
Please.
Dystopian
That's
nightmare is
why-
what that is. That's
Yeah,
how you
that's
get.
why
You want
it's very-
Shinra? You want Shinra from Final Fantasy? That's how you get Shinra from Final Fantasy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if the government does not invest in these upcoming industries, we'll have other companies, private companies, taking monopoly. Solar power, like that one, and your wind power, your water. You have to start investing in those way ahead. Like, you are investing in space travel. All right, you're investing in that. That's a huge thing. Why can't you invest in solar power? Why can't you? What's the problem? Like, why can't you use your brains for that? Why can't you hire experts for that? Why?
Windmills cause cancer.
Trump is a moron. He came out here where we have a bunch of windmills or wind turbines, whatever you call them, and he just went, "It's so ugly. I fly in here and it's ugly. They're huge. They're ugly and huge, and they're causing
That's
cancer."
all that matters, and that they're ugly.
Yeah, and his interest and that party's interest is not in what's best for the earth. It's what's best for their pockets. And it's crazy because they have children who have children. Don't they worry about their future? Like, it's just bananas. It's crazy.
And I'm not bringing children into this world. Not on my watch.
I know. I appreciate that because it's scary as hell.
I recently saw a sort of little breakdown of an alternative windmill, and so instead of being as big as the windmills are, they're like a story, 2 stories tall instead of like huge.
Oh,
And
yeah,
instead
like
of
a
being
pergola.
a windmill, it vibrates, it wiggles. So it's like one of those little inflatable tube dudes,
Oh, yeah.
but less bendy. The wibbly wobbly
Yeah.
inflatable tube dudes.
Less bendy.
It does this and it oscillates.
That's really
And
cool.
so because it's really sensitive, like it's really sensitive because it's all made of lighter material. It's cheaper and you can put more of them around. They make less noise and they're less obnoxious. So you could essentially, if you're going to switch farming over and you're going to not need nearly as many cows, you could take that field, drop a bunch of these things, and now you've got, congratulations, you just hired you've just powered the city over, and you've completely removed, not only have you gotten rid of the clear cutting from cows and the methane from cows and the production from cows, but you've also replaced it with stuff that is not coal.
Also, I would warn, like, I would put a bookmark in there when you're trying to replace the cow meat with the lab produced meat. You try and think about the carbon footprint for your lab produced meat also.
Yes.
There will be a carbon footprint.
There will.
It might be less, but there will be. And if it's less, it's better, it's good. But don't stop there. Just don't stop because it's less than the traditional.
The goal,
Focus on keep refining it.
The goal would be to use the water and the air turbines to power the factory that you're using to produce this meat. So that way, you're not only have you've reduced your carbon footprint to almost zero at that point. The thing that's going to cost money at that point is processing and delivery. You switch that over to automation, and you switch that over to electric cars.
Yeah,
like hydro fuel cells. Like I don't know if I'm using the term correctly. I think so. In New Zealand, one of the ports already has started a puppet project. I don't know, what do you say? Whatever. It's a test project, if you say, to use hydrogen fuel for ships, because if you produce it right now, it's better to produce it in that quantity, like to overcome the costs and stuff. So they are thinking about that and starting that, but to scale it down to cars, it's going to be something. But if you start with the big stuff, then you can work towards scaling it down.
Well, as you invest in the technology and as you produce more of it, you get better at it and you learn how you can get it smaller and smaller. Like, how did phones start? By being goddamn massive.
Right.
How big was the first computer? Huge.
Don't resist change. I know it sucks and it's hard and people are scared, but it's where we're going, regardless of whether you want to or not. Well, I can't remember what it was. It was Biden's push for electric vehicles, something. Okay, so remember, like a couple months back, he was pushing for like within 2 years to stop the manufacturing of gas vehicles, in an effort to promote the electric cars and that sort of thing. People freaked out. I mean, I had friends and family going,
"You're trying to kill Ford. You're going to kill the automotive industry." No, it doesn't kill the automotive industry at all.
Yeah, it's not like outlawing them. They look at it like we're just like, never mind, everything is, electric. No, it's a progression. It's one step in the right direction. It's not going to happen overnight.
What they've missed is that nobody loses their job if that change happens.
The companies, they're not focusing on that.
The companies lose nothing. What they hear when you say, "Oh, we're going to get rid of fossil fuel based cars and switch to electric," what they hear is, "You're going to kill this automotive industry." No, they can still make cars. They're still going to make cars. They're just going to make a different kind of car. You're still going to use a factory to produce those cars. Those people are still going to have to run those robots. There is a degree of automation that will be added, but you're still going to need people. You're still going to need to be able to do this, that, and the other thing. And
jobs will change, but they won't be gone.
There's this ideology. Hell, the jobs aren't even going to change that much. I need to pick up camshaft, and I need to put. Well, I guess electric cars aren't using camshafts, but it'll be whatever piece and put it into lathe.
Maintenance and everything else too for those.
Right. There's a misunderstanding in economics. That I've noticed in particularly American economics, and it's a misunderstanding of capitalism, in my opinion. And it is a matter of forgetting that eternal growth is not possible. it's not sustainable. The goal is not to get more and more and more and bigger and bigger and bigger. The goal is to plateau. The goal is to get something and get it sustainable, and once you've got it sustainable, then take a step forward and then make that sustainable, and then take a step forward and make that sustainable until you've reached the plateau where it's like, no, we're happy here. Our company makes exactly what it needs to do, and it makes the amount that it needs to make. And there's innovation where there can and should be innovation, because plateauing monetarily or plateauing as a company because it's stable is not the same as we're not innovating anymore. In fact, if you want to plateau, you need to be able to innovate because you need to still be able to keep up with the industry.
Right.
It's just not about growth, because
or happening overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. They get freaked out about overnight. It's like,
even if it doesn't,
moving in that direction.
Yeah, and it shouldn't happen ever. You should plateau, because the problem is when you grow, then you get those dips. Then you have to come down eventually. You have to come back down to that plateau area. And if you don't even know that it's a plateau area and you haven't built that stable part, you're going all the way down. You don't have a top that you've hit, and you don't have this chunk of stable part. If you don't have this chunk of stable part and you fall from up here, this can't catch you, and you fall all the way down, and that whole industry gets affected. All of those people end up losing their jobs. You have a company, if you have like Coca-Cola going under, that's huge if Coca-Cola were to go under, as an example. Not that I'm saying Coca-Cola is going to go under anytime soon, I'm just saying as an example.
Well, the irony is that the majority that voted for Trump are, farmers and veterans and all the people that he espoused to, care about, and his whole campaign was like run on, I'm going to get more jobs, and the farmers are protecting the farmers and the coal miners. And that's exactly what he didn't do. And they didn't know that. So it's just crazy it's just sad. I wish,
If I may, people should realize that endless economic growth is just simply unsustainable, because we are living on a finite world with limited resources, and there's just no way possible to keep doing the same thing that we are doing now. Fossil fuels are, I think, the prime example of that, because by 2050, 2060, we are likely to have run out in fossil fuels. There's just no way to keep fueling our current economy by using fossil fuels.
Inkboy for 5 said, you're 100% right. Inkboy for 5 said Trump was against non-aerosol hair stuff because he uses it in his bathroom and not in the atmosphere.
I know. Is that hilarious? Holy shit.
That's absurd. We should probably start wrapping up on that note, though. So if we'll let Manya go last, Karma, if you want to go first. Let's get last words and wrap up, because we're at the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, sure.
I told you we'd go for 2 hours.
Wait, I know. It's 2 hours now. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I love doing this with you guys, and I appreciate being included. But as far as the sentiment of the topic of today, I mean, we could really go on for hours. It's fun to go back and forth with people and hear their points of view, especially when you're from different countries, because that's intriguing to listen to. It's embarrassing where we're at right now with the Trump stuff. But so thanks for including me. I appreciate it. Hope we do better going forward.
Feline, what do you got for us?
Well, thanks for having me. It's been a great experience. Quite new to this, so I think it's also great to have different viewpoints here, and just overall, I hope just for the better. And it's always going to get worse, but we always hope for the better.
Yep, right.
Manya, what you get?
I missed most of it. Sorry for that. I'm just saying that with the impeachment stuff, the Democrats tried. They tried their best. But with the two-party system and with them like just looking out for each other's like backs, so people are not going to take them seriously. Let's just say with the two-party system, it's this impeachment stuff. No, I don't take it seriously. Sure. They tried. and they wasted time, they wasted money, resources. I saw it from a while coming off. Maybe they want to keep on reminding people that this kind of behavior should be impeachable. Okay, fine. But when it doesn't achieve the results, people will get desensitized to this process.
Yep.
And it will become a joke. So
Yep.
they shouldn't do that, according to me, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
apart from that, I don't know. Like with both it all in the end, the lawyers coming in giving their side of the story, it didn't matter. What mattered was what were the personal biases of like 400 something people voting, and we already knew what their personal biases were. And this whole like thing like of getting the lawyers in, doing that impeachment trial, we knew what was going to happen. So yeah, for me it was just a wasted exercise for me. Apart from that, it was a very interesting talk around green gas emissions and climate change, and how we deal with traditional industries, how the phasing out should happen, and Apple and Amazon and private companies having monopolies in market and in technology, and how dangerous it can be.
Which is bad for capitalism, by the way.
Yeah, which is bad for capitalism. Let's just I don't know why that basic point is always lost when we are talking about
because
all
when
this.
you talk about it, people are like, you just want socialism and you hate capitalism, so you hate America. And it's like, but what you're doing is bad for capitalism. That's
Yeah, so so for me it's like I think so we need to encourage that talk, going back to the basics. That's what we need to do, and talk to the people on the ground, and talk to the people who are in these traditional industries, and tell them the benefits, attract them towards it, and show them that how if they get early into the race, how it's going to benefit them. Change is going to happen now, or a big event in the future might like push it forward, like it happened with Krypton, the planet Krypton. They did not realize till it was on their heads, and then they had to go for drastic measures. So let's hope that Earth does not become a Krypton, planet Krypton. Yeah, is it kryptonite or Krypton?
Krypton.
Krypton.
Yeah.
My pronunciation
it's called
out the window.
It's called kryptonite, but the planet is called Krypton.
Krypton. Yeah, you got it right.
Potato, tomato, whatever. So so let's hope like it doesn't take a big, massive event, something like that, to
like the sun blowing
like
up,
push us. You never know about that, eh? So we need to get onto it, and we need to like be serious about it and not be superficial about it. So that's me.
Yeah. I think there was something that I think is valuable to be taken from the from knowing who voted along party lines, who voted morally, and who voted with the law, who voted with the, because it was very the prosecution laid out very clearly what was constitutional. So you can tell, I think it's valuable to know who was voting along with the Constitution and who wasn't, because that's public knowledge. You can see which senators voted for which thing. So now you have a list of senators that ignored you, America.
Yeah.
They ignored the American people. They let you get shit on and trampled over, and now you know exactly who they are. And that's the piece of valuable information. That's what I think is the important takeaway from this, because now you can choose to vote or not vote for them locally, because this is not the presidential election. These are an election for your senators. And so if you talk to your governors, and then you talk to your senators, and you talk to your representatives, and you vote for those ones, those are the ones that are going to be able to make the change for you, not the president. The president is not the person you should be following to make change where you live. They're not the ones who are going to be able to help you with your life. The ones that are close and local to you are. And now you know exactly the people that are looking to line their pockets, and who are colluding with Trump, and who are helping him do it and fuck you over no matter what they try to say to you. Go and vote in your local. Go learn. And at the end of the day...
Yes.
And at the end of the day, if this has taught you anything, the party line does not matter. These people will flip-flop on any fucking issue as long as it gets them their position and their money. They can't make money getting paid by a corporation, so even if they are lining their pockets through that, if they're not in the position to make those decisions. So if you vote them in, or you vote them out, or you say, you need to do this because I'm telling you to, and we are telling you to, they're going to do it because they won't have a choice. Because your vote is going to cost them more than the money that they're going to make, because they can't make that money if they're not in that position.
Yeah.
You can do it. Use the system to your benefit. Use technology to your benefit. You know more about how it works than they do, obviously.
Right.
I believe in you guys. You can do it. This was a great talk. I'm gonna get the hell out of here. And I have one fancy thing to show you guys before we go. Just one quick thing that I wanted to throw in here for funsies. When it loads. Will it load? There it is. Just because we know that people get a little bit upset about a bunch of women coming in and having conversations, you know, except for feline. We don't know about feline. That's still ambiguous. We're not sure. But the direction the show is kind of going in is a place for women with opinions to have and be women with opinions. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to chat about. Are we going to get every single fact right? Probably not. Are we going to get things wrong? Yeah. But we're here to talk about our opinions and how we feel about things and what we think about things. This is not a show. This is a talk show. This isn't to educate you. If you want to be educated more on something that we talk about, please feel free